Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, people of the Philippines and people of the world. Welcome to episode 6 of the English Blog, a blog of English teachers by English teachers and for English teachers. Tonight's episode is so special because this is the first time that we're gathering the team all together, all 5 of us from different parts of the Philippines and the world. So we have a really special episode for you guys, and it's titled Tips and Tricks for Digital Classes. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave a comment and we'll do our best to answer your questions in the next 30 minutes that we're going to spend time together online. Now, we also would like to know where you guys are watching us from. So leave that in the comment as well. So what we did to prepare for this episode is we gathered some questions for y'all. I'm trying to imitate Christine with the y'all. And the first question, the first question we have is, what challenges can one expect when conducting classes digitally? So for me, the number one challenge that I've encountered with my students is the problem of focus. We were just talking about PJ student earlier about the challenge of being focused on the lesson while we're doing it online. So I was conducting this English course last week, and what I didn't like during that 2-hour lesson online is that some people are not turning their video on. So I said, I want to see you guys on screen, that you're there in front, and I want you guys to be listening to me because the lessons are not for me. These lessons are for you. So that's my experience of one of the challenges in conducting classes digitally. How about you guys? What can you share about this question?
Yeah, I'd say one of the challenges of having an online class is, like you said, keeping students engaged, and it's not quite the same as being in a physical class, and that's a challenge. It's keeping them excited and engaged for the class. And thankfully, there are a variety of activities that you can do. You just have to be creative. You have to scour the internet and see what's out there.
I think that the biggest challenge I have faced in teaching children, large groups of children, digitally online, is all of a sudden they just shy away. It's like they're different people. And I think part of that is just like a unfamiliarity. It's like a new setting. So kids always take time to get ready for that. And it is important that the teacher knows what they're doing and can lead the class, that knows the tools they're using, knows the actual technical stuff, and then, has a good course that works online, and you're not trying to shoehorn and just make a weird version of your regular classroom because it makes people uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't really have anything to add to what you guys have said. I just agree that it's an attention thing, really. I think that's the attention and focus. I think it's just really a challenge. Yeah. I mean, when you're in person, it's just a different feeling. Like, you can bring your whole presence as a teacher in person to captivate their interest. Whereas, online you have like another barrier to it,
Just before we continue to the next question and onward, I just want to greet the people who are watching us. We have people watching us from Mandaluyong City. We have someone from Tondo. We have the other comments are not showing properly now. We have someone from Cavite. So as you guys are watching, please make sure to holler and chime in and comment where you guys are watching us from. And if you have any questions about the current challenges you're having right now, about the topic of digital classes, please make sure to leave that in the comments too. So right now we have 55 viewers. Leave us a comment where you guys are watching us from, and leave your question in the comment too. Next question for us is, what are some fun and engaging activities you can do in an online classroom?
Okay, I can take that question. Like I said, although there are limitations with a digital classroom, that doesn't mean that you can't do activities that are fun and engaging. And sometimes having situations like this can be a good thing because it forces you to be creative and to find new ways to engage your students. Currently, I teach two types of classes. I do conversational English classes, and I also do grammar classes. So you get into the bare basics of the English language. So there's a world of difference between the two classes. And so the way I try to engage my students it's quite different. In my conversational English class, I try to incorporate the same activities from my physical classes into my online classes, but with a little twist. For example, if I play a game like taboo words, if you're an English teacher, you probably know what taboo words is. It's
Right.
You have a word and you have to explain that word to a classmate, and that classmate guesses that word. If, for example, you're using Zoom, you can separate your students into breakout rooms and have them engage with each other, doing pair work with each other. And I think that's a great way to keep them engaged in your online class. And then after their pair work, you combine your class again and have a discussion with the whole class. And then for my grammar classes, one way that I try to keep them engaged is having them peer edit each other's writings. And it's so funny because some of my students are from Korea. They had never written essays on Google Docs before. I thought that was a really great way, though, to get them involved in each other's work and just get them more overall involved in their studies. And I think that really helps them with their learning.
Just before we ask the other guys from the team about their answer to that question, Christine mentioned earlier about the Zoom rooms, right? Is it just a feature on the premium version of Zoom, or is it also available for the free version of Zoom?
That's actually a good question. I have the premium version, which I've had for the past couple of months.
Right.
I believe that is exclusive to the premium version.
Okay.
I think so too.
Yeah, but I think it's worth the investment. It's you definitely get a lot of nice features with the premium, such as having more than 40-minute video calls, and that definitely helps a lot.
Right. Okay, let's hear from the other guys. If you guys have any additional answer.
I use for actually when you're in the online class, we did a blog post about this earlier. There are some actual like online games. You can find online Pictionary, and you can all play it in a huge group. And it's nice because it's different from just looking at a video and being on a video call. And just like a game would be in a normal classroom, it's a nice novelty. It's exciting. And I always think it's very refreshing and people love it. So also look for games you can play online. Don't narrow yourself to just video calls. There's lots of other interactive things you can do elsewhere on the internet.
Sarah, can you please mention the name of that website?
Yeah. Okay. So,
Pictionary?
So the Pictionary one I like is called Scribble.io. I'll put it in there later. It's SKRIBBL.io.
Nice.
And the nice thing about that one is you can make a private room. You can play it in a million languages, but I usually play in English. And the other nice thing about it is you can use a custom word list. So I've done it where we've done the words from the chapter, or you need to review certain things. So it's really good. It's really customizable, and it's safe. You make a private room, people can't get in there. It's easy. They just get the link, no account. It's perfect.
Okay.
12 people maximum now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for answering, Sarah. Maybe you can answer this too, or maybe the other guys from the team, because I'm looking at the comments, and one of the question is, are there offline games applicable to our students? You guys have other suggestions around that question?
Offline games, Wordscapes, which the kids love too. It's an app for your phone. That one is actually like properly educational, and it has a built-in dictionary, so they can click and read it.
Okay.
And then I am a firm believer, especially with kids, that you can decide how you want to use it if you really want to play a game and teach through play. But it's also really useful to just encourage your students, adults and students alike, or adults and children alike, to just change their apps into English and play Candy Crush in English. I'm playing Homescapes in French right now.
Nice.
Because it's just a nice exposure in a new way.
And I think, Sarah, it's also good to mention, if you don't mind, that you also is the queen of blackjack, right?
Yeah, I am. I have a private student who I used to see him 3 hours a week in person. He's in a bilingual program in Spanish school. So he learns all of his school subjects in English. So he learns science in English, everything in English. And yeah, he has a little bit of trouble with conversational English. His reading's pretty good. He can tell you all about your human anatomy in English, but it's hard for him to just have a conversation. So with him, we do his homework from his digital classroom from his Spanish teacher. And then we also just spend 15 minutes a day playing games online and just chatting. We play cards. Nice. We have played blackjack, and just like you do with normal games that you can turn into educational, you can do that with all the other ones. And you can get an online card table. That's called Playing Cards. That's also in the blog post, maybe last week, I think, after our games video.
Those who, don't have access to the internet or gadgets, it's going to be quite a challenge. Basically, what you can do is actually what I'm doing as well, which is asynchronous classes. So I'm going to be discussing this later. So basically, it's going to be designing a class which students can access when they have the access. So the advantage of asynchronous classes is that not only the student without the internet access can access the information from other students as well. So that's the advantage of it. So I'm gonna go over this later. So sorry for that with the audio problems. Yeah. So we'll talk about this more later. So sorry, you were saying, Adrian.
All right.
Yeah.
It's okay. Thank you, Eric, for also reading through the comments, because I also go through the comments every now and then. Next question is, are there any assignments outside the online classroom you can give students to keep classes fun and dynamic?
Well, I have some ideas and some stuff I've done with children and adolescents, I guess. But it does depend on having some gadgets, sometimes, not all the time. So, of course, classic like video projects or filming your own audios. With my kids, we have done some fake newscasts because we're in Spain and everybody has been in a hardcore quarantine. So you are trapped in your house. So we've done some fake news videos, fake cooking shows, just showing what your life is. Those are very popular, especially if you're teaching people who are very familiar and comfortable with technology and have the gadgets. If they don't, a great activity that I found is to make basically a scavenger hunt that they can do in their own home.
Nice.
And they follow it around and they collect. For St. Patrick's Day, we had a green one. And at the end of it, you came onto the video call dressed head to toe in green. And you talked about everything you did on your hunt, and because you can't leave your house. So those are my two activities I love.
All right. Thank you for that wonderful answer, Sarah. Next question is, how can you ensure that students stay engaged in your online class? This question is really for you, PJ.
Well, I do a few different things to make sure that they stay engaged. So,
like shouting at them? No, just kidding.
No.
Listen.
I mean, like when all else fails, but you definitely don't want to start at that point. You want to use their natural curiosity as much as possible, and you also want to use the tools available to you in each platform. So for example, like I use Skype a lot for my small classes, and I really like to use the polls in every class.
Nice.
Kids really find that fun, voting. And then after they vote, especially like if it's a discussion based question, I really like to weave in controversy there, something that is going to force disagreement, and make people have strong opinions. I mean, that works for adolescents especially, but it also works for adults. I have not tried it with younger kids, so maybe not so much for elementary students. And then I use the poll, and then they discuss their answers. I also make sure that I have them react to the things I'm saying. Like if I give a mini lesson, I have them use different tools. Like I'll have them type something in the chat box. Like maybe I'll have them summarize an idea that I just said, or what was the most important thing they got out of what I'm saying. Or
that's good.
If I'm using something like Adobe Connect, I might have them use like those verbal nods. Or WebEx has hand raising, I'll do that as well. And when I give them, another thing I find, like just in terms of like managing to keep their attention on the task, is I make sure that they keep their camera on. So that's because, like even if they have to do a writing task, so with writing tasks, I make them keep their camera on so I can see all of them working.
Right.
And I mean, like, once you've been teaching for a while, you can pick up on people's facial expressions.
That's true.
If they're really focusing on the task, or if they're doing something else, right? Like if they start grinning and laughing on the side, smirking, they're probably messaging with their friends online, right? So you've got to like be able to see their facial expressions and manage them accordingly. And another thing I make them do is whenever they have to write anything, I make sure that I'm part of the Google Docs so I can actually monitor seeing them type. I know this is super intensive, but I guess it just depends on how much you want to monitor your students. But these are some of the things you can do that I found work pretty efficiently.
Those are really good tips, PJ, because I'm just trying to for some reason, I suddenly remember my teacher in my master's degree class. I'm taking master's in education right now. And I have this teacher that when she starts the class, she would always do the talking most of the time. It's like she's just talking to herself and not asking us questions. So most of the time what I would do is I would raise my hand to say something or ask a question, because she's just, it's like I know that she's a teacher, but then we can also learn from each other as students. And what you did, so while you were talking earlier, I'm just trying to imagine her doing this digital classroom, and I'm guessing that hopefully her students are not bored just listening to her all throughout and not engaging them just the way you do with your students.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why it's really important that you blend like technical knowledge with what we call aesthetic responses. So getting them to tell you how they feel and what they think about what they're studying, the topic that they're studying, is so important. I mean, even if it's an ESL classroom, that's what's going to want to make them communicate, is to be able to express their opinion or how they feel about something, so you got to get that intrinsic motivation going. So like I said, exploit their natural curiosity, whatever that might mean to you, and use the tools that you're given.
I just don't
exactly
like
what
that.
I was going to say.
Hey, go ahead, Christine.
Motivation. Yeah, I was gonna say tap into the students' intrinsic motivation. You don't really know what makes them tick until you really try to get to know them. And there are so many things you can learn about your students and what really motivates them to learn English. And tapping into that will really make a world of difference in your approach to teaching them. Sorry about that, Adrian. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to comment on the word that teacher PJ used earlier about exploit. I don't like exploitation. We're not exploiting our students. Word choice. Just kidding. All right, next question.
Or at least we're not trying to.
Next question is, how do you prevent cheating on exams since this is done
Ooh.
online?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Sarah.
I think one way you could do it is PJ's recommendation and watch them like a hawk, and just be in there. I would say we have this problem a lot with the older. I work in a high school, so with the older teens. And really, I think the best advice is to kind of look at your exams, look at the exams you're giving them, and you might need to readjust them and make them a little bit more productive. Test the grammar in their speaking, or,
Right.
And you might, if you're doing a bunch of very timed writings, it's difficult because they might be taking like the Spanish kids have to take a big exam at the end of the year and they don't get a dictionary. They don't have any of that. But during COVID, it's kind of particular, and you might need to let it operate like the real world. If you're really speaking English after this exam, you will get to have a week to write it, and dictionaries and the internet. So look at the nature of your exams, and then also you can use the websites. There's some free and some paid to detect plagiarism and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you have to look at your exams and don't give exams that are easy to cheat online.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also,
Students nowadays are very creative. Go ahead, PJ.
Sorry to interrupt. I would second what Sarah said. I think that multiple choice is really easy for them to cheat with, because they can just pass the letter answers really quick. Like if they're gonna cheat, they're gonna message each other one question mark, and the other person's gonna type back B. Again, you should be engaging their higher order critical thinking skills. If they have to explain themselves, they're not gonna have enough time. Oh, that's another thing. Every question should be timed, and you can use different platforms online to do that. So it shouldn't be multiple choice, and every question should be timed. That way they don't have time to to communicate with each other, because if they don't answer each question within like 2 minutes, they can't answer it anymore.
Right.
That's right.
Edmodo, I don't know if any of you use Edmodo, but Edmodo has that
Edmodo,
function.
yes.
You can literally time each question. It's great. It's impossible to cheat. It's just there's not enough time. So
That's right.
Okay, next question is, what multimedia tools would you recommend? So Eric introduced this question earlier.
Okay, so mostly I can't relate to what you guys are saying because I don't teach. Like, I stopped teaching ESL. I'm actually teaching college right now. I'm a communications lecturer, so that's my master's also. So basically, the most important thing for using multimedia tools is knowing your class objectives. So basically, like, I think a lot of you can relate to this. Like, before you start a class, you think, what are my objectives or what are my learning outcomes for the day? Then from there, you would be able to design your multimedia learning tools. So as one of the main content creators of the English blog, one of my main technique is actually to, look at the learning objective and the learning outcome, then think what tools would apply. Now, in terms of specific tools, there are a lot in the internet, but I have some favorite ones that I introduced to my fellow teachers, like Padlet, PlayPosit, Goose Chase. There are a lot online, so you can just, like, a simple Google search, you'd be able to find what you need. If you need more specific tools, you can actually maybe send us a message, then I can respond to you, give you some tools you can use. But basically, for example, I'll put the English blog as context. Like, when I create lesson plans for the English blog, what I do is, like, for example, the teacher tells me, like, okay, so I need this lesson for this class, then it's going to be online. So what I will do is actually think of the tools that I can use possibly. Then, I simulate the situation in my head. Like, will this translate my lesson 1:1? If it doesn't, I will use another tool. So I strongly believe in the principle of cognitive overload theory. I forgot the proprietor of the theory, but yeah, I'm sure Adrian has heard of this theory. So basically, the tools, basically, we have Padlet, we have PlayPosit, Mentimeter. What else do I use? Christine, what do I use? Quizzes, Kahoot. What else? Like, I have a lot, actually. I have a list. But again, I still find myself having to research. So it does entail a lot of research and a lot of, tinkering around. And unfortunately, you have to be somewhat tech savvy to do these things. So yeah, hopefully someday we can do like a vlog about how to set up these online tools for for the teachers also. And additionally, when I prepare the lesson plans, I write the instructions down or I set it up for the teacher already. So they can just like go to the website, the students follow this certain website. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
think
So
using these multimedia tools, sorry, Adrian, is can help us change our perspectives on the use of mobile phones in class.
Yeah.
Generally, they're viewed as this negative thing in class, like don't open your phone, no texting,
Right.
don't surf the internet on your mobile phone. But maybe with these advancements in technology and with these developments of multimedia tools, we can change the way we perceive devices and the use of devices in the classroom and use them to our benefit instead of seeing it as something that serves as an obstacle to students' learning.
That's right.
And yeah,
And in addition to that, actually, I encourage my students to use their phones. So basically, if you're able to design a course that is already engaging enough, your students will not, use their phones to text. They will use their phones as reference already. So basically, it's
Right.
really about your class design. That's the most important thing when setting up online classes.
That's a good point you brought up, Eric, about keeping your class engaged and focused because of your strategy, because you don't give them time to do other stuff that distracts them from the lesson. Also, some of the tools that Eric mentioned earlier is part of the beauty of online classes. So it would be difficult for other teachers to adapt to the new norm, because this is the new norm of classes nowadays. But then it would help if they would do their own research as well, aside from those that Eric mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We're ready for the next question, and the next question is, how can you prevent random people from joining your classes? I didn't know before that it's actually possible. So Sarah, you told us about
I didn't know
this.
that would be a problem either until last Wednesday, when I was in a class with Spanish kids. So it's extra important to make sure you don't have random people joining your classes with minors. We had an imposter. That I've had people mute the teacher, pretend to be the teacher, pretend to be other students, spamming stuff in the chat. And so, yeah, I did not expect that to be a problem, but it is. So my advice, and maybe Eric can give you the specifics of which ones to use, is you really need some kind of video conferencing software that is secure, that has a waiting room like Zoom. Even the basic Zoom has a waiting room, that has like really customized links that change every time you do your call. You don't want the same link all the time. And the ability to like kick people out of your call too.
What was the platform you were using, Sarah?
We were using one called Jitsi, which I wasn't leading the class. I was an assistant, so they had a head Spanish teacher who had chosen this platform.
Okay.
And to me, it seems a little bit. It's nice in that the link stays the same. So like the kids, they come on at their hour all the time. But because of that, I think other kids were getting in there and messing with them. And I guess just enterprising scammers can keep track and show up at the right time, and they know the place.
Right. So speaking of video platform, the next question is, which video applications do you recommend? Like Zoom, Skype, Google Hangouts. Eric, this question's for you.
Okay. So basically, the most important thing you have to think of is your students' access. Like, how well versed are they with these applications? So, common knowledge. I think the most common app right now is Zoom, right? But I find Google Meets a lot better, to be honest. I find it more convenient because it's tied in your email. So if you're an institution, then you have like Google G Suites already. Google Meets comes with it, so it's more convenient. You can also use Jitsi. I think I've only used it once or twice. I'm scared of using it because of Sarah's experience. But I know Jitsi is like you just click on a link, it will open like the video chat and everything. But I find it a little invasive because like it doesn't give you a waiting room. It doesn't, when you click on it, it's like instantly on your face already. So yeah, I really don't like using Jitsi. Aside from this, I actually encourage using like voice chat. This is a thing that I'm currently doing. I'm actually using a gaming software to chat with my students, but I haven't really experimented with it a lot. So I'm using Discord. So Discord is an app we use for gaming. So since the students are, my students are like 20, 21, 22, they're more versed in like gaming technology. So I use Discord, which is most probably they have already. So I just, it's a voice chat, no video, no whatever. Then it's a more casual discussion. So instead of using a discussion board, I use Discord. Something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard of that before. Thank you, Eric, for that information. And we're down to the last question. How do you deal with technological difficulties? For example, Wi-Fi connection problems.
Okay. So actually, this was the question raised a while ago, and I want to address it. So in the Philippine context, just for Sarah's sake, it's like the Philippine internet's really bad. It's like one of the worst in Asia, I would say. So the main strategy that I'm doing, I'm a millennial, so I'm very tech savvy. I love using tech. I love teaching online. It's just sometimes it's a headache also. But the most important thing is that you design your class in such a way that they can access it even outside of class. That's why I don't like using video calls, to be honest. Like I'd rather put up my materials as I'd rather put up my materials with the guided instruction instead of doing a live class, because live class tends to be very disruptive. Yeah, so like imagine like we're doing this Zoom right now, then maybe we have like some latency problems with Christine's internet. It's very disruptive. So I'd rather do it using like Google Classroom. It's just there. Then the students can access it and during their free time or anytime they want. Then you give assessments to check their understanding and learning. Then you can supplement this by using video class as well. So there are a lot of ways around this issue. I think the biggest concern really in the Philippines is the internet access. So I'm sure like these ISPs, internet service providers, or like school institutions are trying to find ways. Personally, I know people from DepEd that are really working hard towards designing a curriculum for our public schools to deal with online classes. So we'll see how it goes from there. The English blog is open for advice. Like if you guys need advice, you can just contact us. I can personally give you some websites I use also. I can we also provide our lesson plan service making, which makes it like really easy for you. So basically, just tell us your topic, what you want for your class. We'll design it in such a way that it will be easy for you. Maybe we'll use Google Classroom, so you just have to enroll your students in it or something. But yeah, basically online tools very useful right now. Takes a little bit of learning, but yeah. So that's it.
So there are actually two people in the comment section that said they're using Discord, Eric, the
for
tool that you
playing
mentioned
music,
earlier, playing songs, and then one commenter said that her husband is using it as
Discord is for gaming, basically. Like I use this for gaming during my free time. I play with people, I play games, so yeah.
And since you mentioned DepEd earlier, I also would like to just I think most of the teachers who are watching us right now already know this. You guys know the DepEd Commons Facebook group. Go check that out. There are so many wonderful and free resources there for teachers, not only for English, but for other subjects too. And since Christine was mentioned earlier by Eric regarding the Wi-Fi connection issues, would you like to share your other technological challenges that you've encountered before and how you dealt with them?
I've definitely seen this firsthand. When I've had this happen with group classes where my students are having Wi-Fi issues, and one thing that really works is to encourage them to disable their video. For example, when you're doing a Zoom video call, and when they disable their video and you only have audio with them, then that consumes considerably less data, and I think that's okay to do if seeing your students' faces is not critical in your class, and it helps to have a PowerPoint presentation. I would keep the teacher's video on while disabling the student's video, and then to keep the classes more engaging, I'm just going to add an engagement component to this question. Then try to incorporate PowerPoint presentations so that they have something visually stimulating, and students haven't complained. So I think it's working for me so far.
Awesome.
Can I add one last thing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I was actually about to ask you too, BJ.
I think you should also have like if you have the ability to share slides on your platform,
Nice.
I think that you should have some like basic troubleshooting techniques that are on a slide that your students can do. Like, I mean, some of these people have never like used a headset, like they don't know how to put their mic on mute. Like when I was teaching online, when I was teaching English online last year, that's something that my students got used to. It's automatically muting their microphone when they
That's
come
nice.
into class so that it minimizes feedback.
Right.
And while they're waiting for the class, there's a slide showing them sort of like what to avoid and what to do. So
Awesome.
if their speed is slow, turn off their video, turn off their mic, keep their mic away from their speakers so they don't
Wow.
put feedback.
Right.
Just some basic stuff to get them going and to guide them while they're waiting for the class to start.
Right. Wow,
Yeah.
we've covered a lot in the past 30 minutes or so of our time together, and I'm sure that this information that we've shared with all of our audience is value adding to them, very timely as well, because so many people are doing online classes nowadays due to this global pandemic. And just before we say goodbye to you all, would like to getting used to the y'all. Don't forget to subscribe to our website. It's free for the first 1,000 subscribers. The website is www.theenglishblog.com. Once again, don't forget to subscribe to our website, www.theenglishblog.com. And please mark it on your calendar. Join us again next week for another interesting, fun, and maybe wacky episode of the English Blog. It's a date, Fridays, 6:30 to 7 p.m. Stay safe, healthy, and happy, everyone, and keep learning. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.